will not walk around saying, I'm humble, I'm humble, I'm humble. They will just act humble, right? So somebody that's perpetually having to reinforce it by saying it is usually trying to hide it. People of great wealth are not walking around saying, I'm wealthy, I'm wealthy. Very often, they're hiding the fact that they're wealthy because they don't want other people to know how wealthy they are.
Yeah, I think we are live, Amanda Holmes. First,
Aloha.
big thanks for shooting this podcast with Upcult community. There is a huge number of people who's watching this on Facebook currently, who is coming ahead and watching this podcast. So first of all, I would like to introduce Amanda Holmes to all of the people in India. So Amanda is basically the co-author of Ultimate Sales Machine. She basically heads all of this, and she is a marketing wizard. I've watched your Instagram and all. It's amazing. Trust me, the amount of value which you put in, it's literally breathtaking. You won't believe me when we just shared in our community, Amanda Holmes is coming. People were like crazy. Like, is she really coming? Can we have the chance to go ahead and speak with her? Like, this is the amount of craze. So, Amanda, before we go ahead, just one thing. Have you ever been to India?
I have.
Okay, so something which you love about India, because India want to hear from you first. This.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, I always joke that I may be white skinned, but inside. People
Wow,
don't know.
that's really amazing. So, which is the best part you loved about India?
Oh, that's so hard. I guess I felt a bit more understood. I have a guru, Sarvaloka Her Holiness Shri 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 1008 Guruji Punamji, and in the lineage of Babanim Karoli. So I do a lot of chanting. Every day Gayatri Mantra and Waheguru and Triambakam and all of these things. And when I went to India and I would chant these, people would look at me like, why does she know that? Why does that white girl know that chant? And why does she sing with so much conviction? So that was, for me, probably the nicest thing, that people actually understood me and knew the value of what I was chanting, and that was really cool. Whereas in America, they look at me like I'm just crazy and they have no idea what's going on.
Absolutely, that's something like we have always seen, like when like people like you come up and promote our culture. So, my next question to you here is a very simple thing. That Amanda, like when you became the co-author of the Ultimate the Sales Machine. My question to you is that what was the feeling? Like today, so many people, it was one of the best sellers. So many people knows about you. The book has changed so many people's life. How do you feel about it?
I'm very humbled and grateful. I mean, it took me 4 years to write the new edition. When I asked people what they wanted to see from a new edition, they said, "Don't touch it. It's perfect." So there was a lot of die-hard fans. So yeah, I put my heart and soul into that book, and I'm grateful for it to be out now, especially chapter 13. That's a soft spot in my heart. I wrote 94 versions of those 10 pages in chapter 13. And over and over and over again, just trying to capture essence of what I was trying to say. So,
That's really amazing. So my first question to you, Amanda, for today is that people wants to know what has been the journey of like how did you come to this, that how did you decide to help, means whatever the words you wrote, it has changed life of so many people. Like so many people have wrote that about the sales conversions and all. It has helped them to build their businesses. But from where did you get those knowledge? From where did you felt those words and you wrote it so precisely?
well, the book started with my father, Chet Holmes. So the concepts came from him. He started working for a billionaire by the name of Charlie Munger, who's co-chairman of Berkshire Hathaway. And for this billionaire, he doubled the sales of 9 different companies, all within 12 to 15 months, and several of them multiple years consecutively. There was even a point where the billionaire came to my father and said, Chet, I've never seen anybody double business multiple years in a row. Are you sure we're not lying, cheating, or stealing? So it was such a great success. And he realized that he had a system for how to grow sales. That's why he then went and cold called his way into 60 of the Fortune 500 that he worked with his clients. And then he decided that the best way to truly move the needle in the world is to help those small to medium-sized businesses because they're the ones that make the greatest impact. So he wrote the book, The Ultimate Sales Machine, which came out in 2007. And then I wrote the new edition in 2022. So it's been a wild ride. You know, majority of books only sell about 200 copies on average. At max, it's like 2,000 copies, and this book has continued to sell for over a decade, which is extremely rare. We're in 16 different languages now. I just was in Italy 2 weeks ago celebrating the 16th language that is translated into. I keep trying to force them to put it into Hindi, but they haven't taken for it yet. Penguin can't find a publisher. But
We need it. We need it. This book we need definitely in Hindi because, to be honest, people in India love this book. You might have seen how many sales we have in India of this book. You know, you won't believe me. Everyone who is in this marketing and sales, they have this book with them in India. That's the amount of love. That is the amount of that wisdom the book contains.
yes, I was just in India in December, and I spoke for the company Motila Oswal. Are you familiar?
Yes, I've heard about it.
Like a financial services company. They've served 1 million Indians. So I got to be in their beautiful head office in Mumbai, like 4-story glass building, gorgeous, and I spoke for their team, which was great.
Hope you didn't come in this monsoon season, otherwise you would have been stuck here.
Oh, I didn't, no.
All right. So, Amanda, just a small question. Like, you've seen your father when you were growing up. My question to you: what are the 5 biggest takeaways you got from him, which you always wanted to suggest to the world, which can shape anyone's career?
One of my father's favorite quotes was, maturity is when all of your mirrors turn into doors. And it's this concept of you shouldn't look at yourself perpetually. You should open the door to others and find how you can help and assist others. So I can remember growing up, my father would always bring me and my brother to his business meetings, to dinners, which when I first started working in the corporate world, I was offended that nobody would bring me to meet their families. I thought, what is wrong with these people? I went to my dad's meetings. Why aren't they inviting me to meet their children? And I thought that that was normal. Turns out that superstar salespeople are just they're so great at building rapport that someone like my father would bring in his family because all of his clients became confidants. They became friends. They became trusted advisors. So the relationship was much deeper. So for him, it was normal to bring his family. For others, it's not. But so growing up, I would go to dinner and my father would train. So we'd be talking with his client or his prospective client. And so then afterwards in the drive home, he'd say, okay, so you asked these questions, right? That was a good question that you asked because did you see how he was interested in this? And he would train me and my brother how to be more personable with other people, how to be more interested than interesting. So we were groomed from a young age how to care for other people, which was critical, right? Who's the favorite person to talk about for everybody? It's themselves, very often, right? So that was a big one. You wanted 5, I only gave you 1.
But it was a breathtaking one, actually, to be honest. So, like the way you said, like about, like I have always heard this. Is this correct that every salesperson who is doing great, who has done great, means on sales, they are very humble and down to earth. Correct? Do you feel that? Like
No.
a person who is like, like
Okay, wait. So there's a blend when you're looking for a superstar salesperson. They have to have a balance of ego and empathy. So both E's are important. The ego is enough to be able to stand there and ask for the sale. And even though they get rejected, which majority, I mean, 8 out of 10 request, you get rejected. So you just have to accept that majority of the time you will get rejected. So you need to have enough ego strength to get through that rejection, to every time they slap you down with a no, you look at them again and go, give me more. Yes. It's like, it's almost like a demented kind of person that loves when they get the no, they're just more driven. So you have to have that ego strength. But then a superstar will also have the empathy. So you'll hear them say something like, I've never met a person I didn't like. Like, they just find what to like in every single person, and they relate to those people, and very often they're trying to find a way to solve their problems because they recognize that it's not about them, it's about the prospect, it's about the client.
That's absolutely true. My
But
next question.
I've met a ton of sales reps that are superstars and are extremely ego driven and not humble whatsoever.
Actually, to be honest, I have also seen this that many people who are superstar, they always like have this egoistic thing, but most of them present to the world that, oh man, I'm so humble. But to be honest, like, see, why I will say this to you, I was recently at an event, and he was one of the topmost, celebs of the superstar of sales in India. And I saw that was super humble, and the same kind of sales superstar who was like him only. He was super egoistic. So I think person to person it varies. I feel.
Absolutely. And I mean, in this world of like the fakeness of how, I mean, we won't even know in a couple, even now, if the video that's being streamed on the internet is the person that actually said it because of AI today, right? They can put words in your
Absolutely.
mouth, they can fabricate it all, so it's really hard to know what's real and what's fake. And you have to, this is something I learned from my guru, is you have to look beyond just the words that are coming out of someone's mouth. Very often, a humble man will not walk around saying, I'm humble, I'm humble, I'm humble. They will just act humble, right? So somebody that's perpetually having to reinforce it by saying it is usually trying to hide it. People of great wealth are not walking around saying, I'm wealthy, I'm wealthy. Very often, they're hiding the fact that they're wealthy because they don't want other people to know how wealthy they are, because they're trying to protect their wealth, right? So we have to look at the words that are coming out of their mouth compared to the action.
Absolutely. So my question to you is that if someone wants to go ahead and start a career today in sales, this is one of the most highest paying professions, what are guidelines which you would say? From your life you have learned, you have seen your father. What are the basic guidelines which you would suggest like anyone in India to basically like if they want to come in sales and they want to grow in this career, what would you suggest? Like how should they proceed?
I would take a personality assessment first to see, is your strength one of the ones that is particular for sales reps, and see where you land as your just general makeup. Of course, everything can be trained, but there should be some sense of, I love people, I am driven. If you don't really feel like you're so all that's driven in your life, you're not going to make it in sales. Sales takes, right, what we call pig-headed discipline and determination, um, and that's okay, right? If you don't feel driven and if you don't feel like um, you can get up and handle that rejection, then there's plenty of other jobs. So the first thing I would do is see if your raw talent uh, is comparable and aligns with what is needed from a salesperson. And if that's then true, I don't know the statistics for India, but I know in the United States, 0.04% of the universities in the U.S. have sales as a major or minor. 92% of businesses don't even have a sales process that people follow, or if it is there, nobody follows it. So when it comes to sales, people just think, okay, come into an organization. Okay, now follow Sally around. Sally's going to show you how to sell at our organization, rather than actually getting the skill sets it takes to become a better salesperson. So first, I would diagnose and see, do you have the raw talent to be able to be good in sales? And then I would train on how to be better at sales. And there's lots of different places. I obviously recommend Ultimate Sales Machine as a great place to start. It will teach you more than just sales skills. But I would train to become better, because you can obviously train and grow in each of those skills, because there's different steps to being a salesperson. First is just, can you get your head in the door? Do you grab their attention well? Can you build rapport well? Okay, do you have what it takes to ask for the sale and make sure that you ask for the sale and you don't always have to discount to get the sale, right? So there's many different skill sets within sales to refine and get better at. And if you're constantly wanting to learn, that's also another great raw skill that's important as a salesperson. Continue to learn and grow.
Great. So one question to you. In this online world, which is the best mode of selling to you feel? Is it webinar selling, or is it one-on-one sales call, or you think is that like the challenge and all? Which one do you suggest? Like most of the things like in the virtual world you're seeing, like the many funnels have come up, like webinar funnels, like one-on-one sales calls, then for example like this challenge and all. Which one is your favorite?
Well, I have the benefit of having a lot of different kinds of clients. So I have, a 9-figure client that sells office furniture, and right now their sales process is still, they go to a prospect and they bring donuts, and they try to sell them more office furniture by walking to their location and selling and giving them free donuts. That is their sales process, and they make 9 figures doing it. So why hold them against the donut run? I also, on the other spectrum, have, clients like Digital Marketer was a client, and Russell Brunson has been a client with ClickFunnels, which is way more on the opposite spectrum of, the bleeding edge of SaaS, where it's all automations. It's challenge funnel, it's the webinar funnel. They have a million different funnels that they bring people into their business with. So I think it really depends on who is your prospect, what are you selling, right? Because so many businesses can now sell online without even having to have a sales rep, right? People are buying their homes. Their biggest purchase in their entire life will normally be their home, and then second would be their cars, and then third would be college for their children. So their biggest investment that they make, people are buying it just looking online and purchasing a home, not even seeing the home. So it could be online, it could be in a group setting, it could be one-on-one donut runs. It really just depends on who is your prospect, where do they spend their time, and how can you get to them where they spend their time and influence them in a way that can set you apart from everybody else.
Absolutely. So my question to you is the next one is that, like, what do you think? Like, imagine I'm just giving you a situation. Okay, a prospect who just like he wants to buy, right? Many of the people, as someone asked a question that, what if prospect doesn't want to buy a product? Okay, but he has the money, and he's saying that he has some time issue or something. Which is the best line which you can say to open the sale?
If you're already at that point and they're saying no, my answer is usually that you haven't built enough rapport. You haven't found their need, their true need. So the difference between superstar sales reps and mediocre sales reps, let's say, so there's 7 steps to a sale. And what an average sales rep will do is they spend their least amount of time on the first step, which is building rapport, a little bit more on building the need, creating desire and value, and then they get to the sale and following up, and they spend majority of their time trying to close the sale or follow up, rather than what a superstar salesperson does is they flip that time. So they spend majority of their time building rapport and the least amount of time closing the sale. So if they're saying no, my guess would be you haven't built enough rapport so that they trust you and respect you enough to tell you the true problem that they're facing so that you can solve it. So it's hard for me to say, oh, it's this line, because it depends on each person. Maybe you just, usually I think it's because you haven't found the right pain.
Correct. So my team just sent me a question that people are asking. How is the sale changing in this current online world?
Yeah, it's changed a lot, especially in the last 15 years since my father wrote Ultimate Sales Machine. So, uh, 15 years ago, the average person was okay with going to a sales rep and talking to them. Today, 97% of prospects feel that salespeople are too pushy. So you see it in retail, not so much in India. Retail is still very prominent, and you walk around and you can buy things. In America, you walk into a mall and every sales rep comes up and says, "Can I assist you?" And you can see them jump back and go, "No, don't talk to me. I don't want to talk to you." It's because we've been so conditioned with so much information hitting us all the time trying to sell us. I mean, 3.8 billion people have a social media page today. So you think about how many people are constantly bombarding you with information. We've just gotten so tired of that that we're pushing back on that so severely. So what do we have to do? We have to meet our prospect where they are, and we have to speak to them where they're at, which very often, 90% of the time, your prospect is not thinking about you, your product, or service. So we have to figure out what's keeping them up at night. And it could be something completely not related to your product or service, but you have to talk to them so that they feel that they are understood, so that they feel that they're heard. We call it global pain points and target pain points. So what are the things that are keeping your prospect up at night? How can you identify them, talk to their pain points so that they understand that you understand them, and then lead them to solutions that can help build that rapport, trust, and respect so that by the time you get to talking about your product, they're already sold on you because they see that you're a true expert and you're there to help and serve them.
So believe that right now it's all about building a trust more because customer right now wants to feel you more in this online world. Am I correct?
Yes.
And it's been harder than before to sell, I think, right? Before it was easy. Right now, with more and more people coming in this online world, with more and more ads coming on this online world, it has becoming difficult to sell, I think. So right now you feel that trust is the most important thing. Like more nurturing is required.
Yes.
So my question to you is that, see, whenever like any webinars or whenever an event happens, they're always like that 5% of the people who's ready to pay you immediate money. And they're always the emotional buyers who is ready to pay you money. But what would you suggest that if in a crowd of 100 people, 5 people who wants immediately want to pay money, how to nurture the rest 95 so that in the long term we make more money from them?
Absolutely. I mean, 80% of sales are made on the 5th to 12th contact. It's not just that first contact or that webinar. So you absolutely, and this is where you blend automation with personal touch. And very often what we teach and talk about is how can you circle them in multiple different mediums. So you're reaching out to them via email and you're giving them value and education that helps them make some decisions. You lead with text messages. I get the best opens and click-throughs on my text messages. 10x what I'm seeing from my email. So can you follow up with text messages? Can you follow up on social? Can you validate what they're posting on social? And this really also depends on what kind of prospect we're talking about here, right? So there's some that can just be mass marketed to, and then there's others that are a higher ticket item where you can spend the time to do personal touches. So it depends on who you're talking about here and what value you sell. If you sell something under $100, then it should all be automated. How can you automate emails? How can you automate text messages? How can you automate retargeting campaigns on Facebook or on social? If they're higher ticket, like above $1,000 or $10,000 and above, then you can do that personal touch, and it's worth it to do that personal touch. Follow up.
One question, see, what happens is that during the most of the sales, this is one of the common things which I've seen, most of the people also. Like most of the people now, right now, for example, if I'm selling a $10,000 product, just imagine. Now, imagine two people immediately pay the money. There will be three people who gets converted into EMIs. Now, what happens is that sometimes, most of the times, most of the business owners see that the people who gets converted to the EMIs or the monthly payments, they do not pay on time. So, what do you think? What could be done correctly so that like this problem can be avoided?
Uh, if you have clients that aren't paying on time, I would look at what kind of clients those are. Is there a certain revenue amount that they're at if it's B2B, if they're selling business to business? And I would look to bring people into my funnel that are at a certain point and above. So I would qualify more people coming through my funnel so I don't have such low tier clients that they don't pay. That's a quality problem. So I would get clearer about quantifying a better quality of client on the front end, and then maybe you're just need to be more clear about how to collect that money. Maybe instead of doing it manually, you charge their credit card, or you get their approval to get their bank information. So you're just taking that money out of their bank every month or so, and you set reminder emails that let them know we're about to take this amount of money out of your bank account because this is your monthly subscription, and then it's all automated, so there's no haggling back and forth. It could also be something automations in the accounting.
One question, like most of the these small business owners, like they do not understand that much level of sales, means how the funnel works or how they can build a proper sales machine so that they can get more money out of the same customer. So what would you recommend them, small business owners, that how they can build their business better, how they can build their business better, what are the steps they should take to build a better business going forward in this online world or offline?
That's a very big question and very general. So very often what we see when we want to grow a business, we have, the Dream 100, which is the fastest, least expensive way to double sales. That's something that usually people will come to us asking. Or, I want to build my stadium pitch because I want to get 9 times more clients from every move I'm already making, and I don't want to spend more to do it. Those are usually very common things that people come to us to learn to grow their business without, spending a ton more money. Um, Very often what we find is when we get into the company, we see that meetings are terribly run. In the United States, 56 million ineffective meetings happen every single day. I can't imagine what it is in India because your population is much bigger. So I'm sure it's even more. And time management is terrible. I mean, just awful. So if you want to grow your business online or offline, I would get down to the basics and just read chapter 1 and chapter 2, right? Time Management Secrets of Billionaires is chapter 1, how to increase your productivity by 500%, which is 6 simple steps. It only takes 15 minutes a day. But pig-headed discipline is determination the whole day. But I would recommend getting to your basic foundations of, am I managing my time appropriately, and am I having effective meetings with my team and myself so that I do have the time to spend working on my business, to learn online strategies, to learn how to grow, to work on growing, because very often our head is just down, just working, because a small business leader has so many hats on that they can't take that moment to rise up out of the clutter to see, okay, what am I doing that's ineffective? What am I doing that's inefficient? So the first 3 chapters of the book are much more around the basics of tackling so that you can get results quickly in being able to grow your business because you have more time and you're more efficient.
That's great. One very specific question. Okay, one very specific question. Which business do you think in today's world is more scalable? business which is on the online world or a business, small businesses right now? Export business, do you think is more scalable today, or a local brick and mortar business? What do you think?
Uh, I mean, it depends on the business, but very often online businesses that maybe don't have as many people and can scale quickly, it doesn't matter how many people are coming through your pipeline, you have the bandwidth to be able to handle that. I mean, an online business can scale much more quickly. I don't know what it is in India, but in America, we just have a crazy crisis around staff. Very hard to find staff, very hard to find skilled labor. So I was just in a room. I was just in a room full of 7 and 8 figure businesses last week, and I was teaching them how to double sales. And I said, "How many of you could actually double your sales this year?" And half of the room said that they couldn't, and they said it was because they didn't have enough staff. So it is a difficult thing right now to find that those skilled people.
Actually, you know what? So means in India, what we have done to solve this problem. So what we do is that we basically train. Means like, you have heard about the word closers, right?
Hmm.
Means who close means to deal. So what we do is that we train people on sales and closing and all of these stuffs. And then what we do is that we basically place them for the local businesses or the online businesses. So what happens is that so that they can means they work on commission. So what is that the business owner if they go ahead and means try to find it out, it's very difficult to find closers or the staff means who will close the deals. And that is the reason, like recently, you won't believe me. So I was talking with a like an 8 figure entrepreneur a few days back in India. So I said that why are you stuck at this point? He was making a $1 million in a month, and he's gonna expand it. So I just asked him like, how do you plan to double it? He said that Anuran, I want to double it. I'm having like 150 salespeople. I want to double to 300 because I can have that lead flow and have system set so that I can make that amount of money. Problem is that I'm not getting the people.
Mm.
Same problem India is also, and I think each and every means business owners are facing this problem of quality sales persons who can close the deals.
Mm.
So that's what we thought to come up with this idea of closers and solve this problem in India. Means we have not done internationally, but we have done it in India actually quite a bit.
Nice. Yeah.
All right.
Great.
So one question I have, okay, like most of the times, okay, that what should be the correct mindset of a sales person who is going to go ahead and close the deal? Because many times there are times where it becomes difficult. You might have a 7 day or a 30 day where you do not close that much amount of deals. And mentally, that point of time, many people go in stress, they feel depressed. How to overcome that?
Um, Are you asking how to have more motivation as a sales rep? Or are you asking what does it take to find somebody that has that already?
So I'm asking that how to get that motivation to basically become that sales rep. Do not get like just satisfied when one deal gets missed out or second deal gets missed out. It's all right. It's a part of the person. But many of them don't lack that mindset. So what would you suggest to those people like who is going through the failures right now?
It's part of the job. That's just um, so if you are looking for sales reps, you should look for somebody that loves that rejection and can handle that rejection. And we teach in chapter 5 of Ultimate Sales Machine how to reject your potential sales rep to see if you interview them and you're asking them about their life and you want to get to know them better and then all of a sudden you say, "Well, you know what? We can only hire the best." And I'm not really hearing that from you uh, based on this interview. And then you just pause and you see what that sales rep says. Very often, people will just fold in that interview and say, "Oh, okay. You sure? Yep, sorry. All right. Thank you." And then they're done. Versus a superstar will say, "Well, I don't know why you'd say that because the last 3 jobs that I've done, I did this, this, and this, or, I've excelled in everything I've done." A superstar will overcome that rejection in the interviewing process, and that will help you discern who is a superstar versus who can't handle that rejection. So that's one half of this is finding that superstar. That's one of the things that we recommend in chapter 5, and it goes through the whole script of it. But then when you're in your job, It is a daily, like I said, it is daily rejection. If we know, if you're cold calling, you make 100 cold calls, only 3 people out of those 100 will usually raise their hand and say, "Oh yeah, I'm interested in what you're doing." The 97 other calls are them hanging up on you, them cursing you or getting angry at you for calling them. So, it takes a lot. It takes very often people will have their own. Um, for me, it's chanting. Right when I want to get into the right headspace, I will chant. Like heading over here, I was chanting before I started my day. For others, it could be working out or running or yoga or spending time with their families. Whatever it takes for you to get into that mental space of knowing that the game is rejection. And the whole point is to see how many times you can get back up after you've been knocked down.
Okay, my last one question for the day. And
Yeah.
this is very, very, like, it's gonna be very, very something which I will just ask basic only, but this is something which might help many of them when they will watch this interview. What are the 4 core skills that a superstar salesperson requires? The 4 core skills which you will recommend every individual that they should have this or they should brush up this so that they can become a superstar.
Yeah, it's man, you're taking it right out of chapter 5. That's so funny. Um, I wanted to pull it up. I wanted to see what page it's on. I was seeing what exact words my father used because I don't talk about this so much anymore. Um, hmm. It's on page 92 and 93 in Ultimate Sales Machine. So, like I already shared, it's ego strength. They have to be strong enough to be able to handle the rejection and ask for the sale. They also have to be empathetic, right? That they feel that they can connect and understand the person and feel that they want to help and serve them and they like them. Then there's also overcoming the rejection. There's also being able to set yourself apart from the competition, right? So, what a superstar sales rep will do very often is they will become an expert in their field. They will understand what trends are happening over time. They'll understand the pain points of their prospects even beyond their own services. So, a general knowledge of um, the field, the industry, rather than just being an expert on your product or service. And very often, a superstar will be hungry for knowledge. They are constantly learning. In the interviewing process, looking for a sales rep, you should ask, "What are you doing to better yourself? What was the last book you read? Is it books? Is it podcasts? Do they go to trainings?" You want to get somebody that is hungry to learn because that is a true superstar that's always looking to get better.
So first of all, a very, very big thanks that you took out your valuable time to come onto this podcast. I'm really, 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 really obliged. And in India, we have this tradition that we fold our hands and say thank you to our guests. So a thank you for coming from the full India. This is from the full India. A very much thanks. This might enlighten many youths in India, many people in India who are struggling right now with a direction in their career, and it might definitely want to change their life. So really, really, really thanks, Amanda. One word for India before we end this podcast. Just one word, whatever you want.
धन्यवाद.
No, Hindi even. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Amanda. I will just end this broadcast.